Hey, how's it going, everybody? Finally fixed this anger, right? I want to have this as a continuation of the previous video on skillful competency for the common male. One of the ways of showing competency in to be skillful as an impressive individual is personality. Now, personality is essentially the collective traits of your person, essentially, and a set of characteristics that can be described uniquely as yourself. One of the ways in which I've learned and I've applied even about personality is you want yourself to believe in yourself, and that sounds like a very abstract concept, but believing in yourself is just simply having confidence. I mentioned in the previous video, essentially, confidence is having faith with yourself. So you believe in yourself, you have belief in your abilities, and you know how to skillfully do that. Now, part of what I mean is people want to feel special and people want to be noticed. So part of that is that they're not common, right? So to be special means to be uncommon and it's like rare, unique, and things that many people do not just take for granted. Essentially, they don't they don't see you and say, "Oh, okay, you're just like everybody else." But instead, somebody who feels special is somebody who isn't looked among other people and isn't overlooked, but is noticed out of the crowd, essentially. So one of the ways you can do that is to be less attention seeking. Part of it is very helpful to be less people pleasing, less as what we commonly understand as codependency. To be less of that and follow some therapists. Go get therapy help. Follow your favorite therapists like Katie Morton or well, what's his name? Tihan. Um, I'm not sure, but or Tracy Marks or Kazu Seattle with Kirk Honda. Check out all these fellas. To help fix that codependency issue. But part of helping you in that respect is to be less of a people pleaser. And being less of a people pleaser is helpful in that your care is special for specific people and is also special for people who are essentially deserving of your time and attention. Now, I hope you understand that it's okay to have a baseline of kindness, but another thing is just because you do it without any expectation of getting back. Now, this is a big difference between somebody who just simply doesn't know and they're pretty ignorant and they're naive and they're just nice to everybody because that's just what's worked out for them before, and that they can't distinguish between being nice to everybody and being nice to a specific person, which is essentially somebody they like. They need to understand that when somebody's nice and kind, that's fine. That's totally fine. But when it comes down to a person that you like, you're supposed to give them special attention. Now, that's something that we know and we feel, but sometimes for some people, that it how it comes off and how it is portrayed to other people is it blends together, even if the person doesn't intend to do that. It blends together, and the person that they like is being treated in a similar state of everybody else, and they get the misconception from this person that they like that, hey, you're a nice person, but I'm not really interested in like that. And then the other person just can't understand because they like this person, but they don't know why they don't like them back. So that's part of my reason. You need to give special attention to somebody. And it doesn't mean, it doesn't mean that you should expect interest from somebody else. It just means that you know how to appropriate your kindness. So that's one thing, is making people feel special. Another thing is kind of prioritizing your life, and part of prioritizing your life as a common male is to essentially you got to put women a little less on your list of priorities. You got to, this is for people who just don't understand this yet or don't understand this already, but essentially place on your list of priorities your romantic other as maybe in your top five, or like in the lower rung, because they shouldn't really be the top. And I only say that because not that they're not important, but that they're not God. And if you're an atheist, they're not the top priority of your life. They're, maybe you might say that, But some people, the people who know how to appropriate this properly, already understand that yes, this is one of the highest priorities of your life. But they don't supersede you starving. They don't supersede you not getting your act together. Not They don't supersede your mental health. You know, they have a healthy sense. It's just for them a given that yes, of course I'm going to take care of myself. Of course I'm going to do all these things. These things matter to me, and if I don't, then I'll die, and I can't take care of this person or whatever. They just have a healthy sense of priorities. But this is something I want to just tell people: get a healthy sense of priorities. Um, can't put people too high on a priority, because if you do, everything you do will it will have a certain expectation, and it won't really be a healthy behaviors. So having somebody feel special, um, help yourself to by engaging in hobbies, learning how to speak better, learning how to uh, have a better job, having more skills, building yourself, like I said, having a hobby, having multiple hobbies, but let this person not be your lifeblood. I know it sounds great in movies and films, but you shouldn't really get your advice from films unless it was from somebody who's really out to teach people. Many or much of films are just flowery, and it's just meant to get ticket sales. It's meant to tell you a story, and the most meaningful ones will teach you something. But these rom-coms and all this other stuff, they won't really teach you too much, you know. So I just want to let you know that, prioritize women a little less. Another thing is, when people say be yourself, they don't really mean that. They mean that in a sense that they assume that you're pleasant to be around, and that practicing skills you're already doing. They take it for granted that, you practicing all these good skills for yourself is just, it's already given, So be yourself, because that's the genuine place that people want. But that is true to some degree. That is true to some degree. People do need to see your authentic self, because who you truly are, you can always pull from that. You can always, when you pull from a genuine place, you don't have to sit here and want to be like, dang, I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to say. Well, be true to yourself. Believe in yourself, and be competent and be confident. Believe in yourself. So if you have things that you find funny, share that. Just make sure you have, be appropriate, of course. But I do mean it. Be appropriate. And if you are that type of dark humor person, find a community and find a friend and find a person you like within that healthy list of priorities who likes that, who accepts that. And once you can find somebody who's safe to do that with, you can definitely do that. But when you communicate with people, you find things that you find funny. Just be sure to be very tactful, and be thoughtful, be confident, be competent, and be genuine. And so, sorry, going back to my point, is when people tell you to be yourself, they typically do just mean like your best genuine self. Not yourself where you have some attachment issues, or you got some insecurities, or you got this and the third. And it's unfortunate. I'm sorry. People, they don't tell you the full picture of things, but it's the truth. People want the best part of you. You know, part of speech is listening. And like for me, I kind of took that for granted, because I'm a good listener. I like to think. I listen to people. It all depends on what people say and how they say it. And part of maturity is to differentiate themselves, their intentions, and from you and yourself and your intentions. So maybe somebody might be dealing with their own problems, and you have a healthy sense of understanding that, okay, how this person said this was kind of weird, but it doesn't have anything to do with me, because I didn't do anything to them. So, they're mad for some reason, or they sound mad. That has to do with them and them. So I'm not going to let that affect me in the way I communicate to them. So part of speech is coming from a genuine place, listening, and having this back and forth. And another thing is being honest with yourself. Sometimes you just don't have anything else to say, and that's fine. I like to come to a conclusion of, when I'm speaking to people, I I know what I'm thinking, what I'm feeling, and sometimes I might communicate that. Especially if I don't have anything else to say, I might just say, "Man, well, I'm got nothing else to say, man," or "Hey, I might just get back to this work," you know. Communicate your feelings. Maybe you just don't feel like talking right now. You're like, "Man, there's nothing else to say," you know. But I think people do appreciate you being honest, and that's a toss up. I'm not sure if people don't like you being honest, but it's coming from a genuine place, and you just need to have show tact and giving that to people. Another thing is smiling. Now, one thing that I've noticed for myself, because I am a pretty naive, and I had to just manually learn all this stuff. So, is smiling. Smiling means different things to different people, and especially with gender. You smile at a male, they might take that as an offense because, to my surprise, smiling at just being a smiley person, and during my formative years, it was in Wisconsin, so I people smiled all the time. So when I went to Chicago, completely different. You smile at people, especially dudes. They take it the wrong way. They're not trying to talk to you. They'll straight up ignore you if you smile. And you might just say, "Hey, how you doing?" So that's one thing. Social cues. So when you speak to people and you smile, especially with somebody of the opposite sex, and you smile, they might get the wrong impression. Unless that is your impression, then you have to just be intentional about your impression, your intentions. So smile, share your thoughts. Be honest about a topic. Another thing is who, what, when, where, and why. One of the good things of continuing on a conversation is being observant and asking those four W's and that H: who, what, when, why, and where. And that helps you continue a conversation. Like, what color of the sky is today? That didn't make any sense, right? But what is this cup? Who makes these cups? Who is Nied? Sorry, made a joke about because that's flip. But who the heck is Jack Daniels? Did you know Jack Daniels, his mentor was what's his face, Uncle Nearest? The dude was a slave, and he was a master distiller. Bring up stuff, learn stuff, and share that stuff with other people. I'm sure people will be finding that pretty interesting. I had a conversation with a coworker about like just Netflix specials and stuff like that, and I thought that was pretty interesting. Another thing is, like, I'm gonna go back to my third point, is just really hear them, really listen. For me, I'm a listener already, but some people are not. So really listen. My sister, she was telling me about some stuff in regards to not writing screenplays, theater work. Part of that is listening to people. So when they speak, what they're saying, and it's replying appropriately based off what they're saying. Now that sounds like basic communication, but it sometimes isn't. Sometimes you have to intentionally listen to what they say and give a reply. What did you think about it? If somebody's telling you about, dang, my grandma fell and she's hurting, and we took her to the hospital and we had to wait for about a whole day until we saw her. What would you say for that? Man, I'm sorry, that's tough. And then replay back to them some of that information. Man, that was pretty tough. You had to sit there for about a whole day. That's a long time. What did you think about that? Man, my arm was hurting, my back was hurting. I was playing Nintendo Mario Kart, so on my phone, so I guess it wasn't too bad. It's like, oh, okay, that isn't too bad. Okay, I'm glad. And again, affirm them. I'm sorry, not again, but affirm them in conversations. So run that back home. Hey, I'm glad that you felt you did something. You had some kind of enjoyment in this conversation, and I'm glad. I'm glad that you were able to get some enjoyment during your time, despite it being 24 hours, and your back's hurting. How's your back anyway? Oh, well, my back is cool. I just decided to go to the shower and yada, yada, yada. And I was like, oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. I know for myself, sometimes when I'm hurting, I go take cold showers, so I thought that was pretty cool. You shouldn't if you want to, because that's, cold showers. I get it. It's kind of tough, and I'm not an addict or anything, but yeah. So yeah, you learn how to speak. So, and you'll know your niche. This reminds me of, I mentioned this before, but I do like bringing it up because the concepts is very helpful. It's not meant for pickup artistry or anything like that. It's just meant for you to be a better communicator. And part of that is the what the heck is it? Crazy love, love crazy thing. It's the thing with Will Ferrell and Ryan Gosling. I keep forgetting. I knew it was on the tip of my tongue, but it's something about like crazy love or love. Not love does crazy things, but I'll have to just make a comment on it. But essentially, it teaches you about you need to find your niche. You know, when you learn how to get all these things together, you'll find your way of being a competent male because it's necessary. It's terribly necessary, and you can do this in your own way. You don't have to imitate me. You don't have to imitate anybody. You just have to do this the best way you know how to do it. So I just want to encourage you, apply this stuff. If you're at work, be sort of fearless, you know, just, but no, don't pressure yourself heavily to be like, you know, dang, I got to talk to her. Oh man, if I don't talk to her, or dang, if I need to make this happen. It's just like, no, take that pressure off, because if you're stressing out, you're going to stress somebody else out. So take that pressure off and just train your mind to think of this person as a regular person. I think that's another point. Treat them like a regular person. That sounds really simplistic and it sounds kind of vague, but I mean, like, if it's a pretty girl and you're like, dang, that girl's pretty, you know, everybody's telling her that. So what will be your better thing is to make her feel special, which means you're not all the sweeping few the sweeping crowd of people who tell her she's pretty. Be the person be the person who tells her that she's a regular person, you know, and compliment other things other than her beauty, you know, like, oh wow, you sound like you're pretty good at math or something, you know, like, or like affirm them. And that's very important, to affirm people, because when you affirm people and compliment them, and again, we do this appropriately for guys as we do for girls. um, you can tell a dude, man, dude, you just killed that rep for like 500 pounds, bro, man. You're like a monster. You're a killer, man. You really just destroyed that machine. And dudes be like, yeah, yeah, you know, make him feel good, because it's like, yeah, you affirm them like, yo, you're a killer. You know how to really get these reps done, man. Good stuff, man. And sometimes some dudes might not take it that well. But again, it's trial and error. But like, that's the point. I hope you got the collection of all the stuff of what I'm saying. It's part of affirming people when you speak to them, you know, and part of being considerate. And that's that.